All right, Mr. Chairman, we are live and ready to go.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Academic Committee meeting of the UIL. Will the members of the Academic Committee please come to order? At this time, I certify that a quorum of the Academic Committee is present. The regular fall meeting of the UIL Standing Committee on Academics is now in official session. For the record, it is approximately 10:30 a.m. on Sunday, October 18th, 2020. In accordance with the waiver to certain provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act issued by Governor Greg Abbott on March 16th, 2020, and in the interest of avoiding large gatherings and promoting social distancing during this pandemic, the meeting is being held via teleconference and is streaming live. Council, committee members, you've been automatically muted at this meeting start. You can unmute yourself at the bottom left-hand part of the screen when needed. I don't think there's anyone that is called in. I am Keith Bryant, Chair of the Academic Committee and Superintendent of Lubbock Cooper ISD. My fellow committee members are Thomas Randall, Superintendent Lamar Consolidated ISD and Vice Chair of the Academic Committee. Bobby Azam, Superintendent of Andrews. Kevin Nowak, Superintendent of Palmer. Jim McClellan, Superintendent of Sanford Fritch. Wayne Henderson, Superintendent of Sands. Eric Wright, Superintendent of Hayes Consolidated ISD, and Ryder Warren, Superintendent of Northwest ISD. And I see we have the pleasure of having Dr. Braddock in our meeting. And Dr. Braddock, I'd like to turn it over to you for a few comments before we begin our meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank all of you committee members for serving on this committee and joining us remotely on this Sunday morning. I know you have many other things going on in your own district and your own families that should take priority over what we're doing, but I'm thankful that you care so much about the UIL that you would be here today to discuss the important issues surrounding the academic department. I just have to tell you straight off the bat, I just love David Stevens. Dr. Stevens, he just works so efficiently and effectively, and I don't really know how to describe it other than how do you go through a pandemic like we've gone through, where his entire spring activities were just demolished. We didn't have the state academic meet for the first time in 110 years. I know how much effort his staff put in to this event. And you know it too, those of you who participated in the activities, those of you who've had students who participated, you know what it takes to put together a championship event. And for those of you who don't know, and I'll say this on behalf of Jana and Jeannie and Paula and David and Lisa, who are the assistant directors in the academic department, because I won't get to say much about them tomorrow. But I wanted you to know that the work that they've done under Dr. Stevens' leadership is just enormous. The fact that they've planned all this and then had it washed away and then had to start all over again to talk about how it would be done again, and beginning in the fall and beginning in early January when we have student Congress first, and then all the things that come with cross-ex debate. What people don't know and they don't see, they see the gold medals that kids bring home and they see their names in the paper perhaps, but what they don't see behind the scene are all the things that have to be managed, the classrooms that we have to procure, the places and spaces that have to be dedicated to this event, and the schedule itself so that it doesn't cause a conflict so kids miss out on other activities that they want to be in. All that has to come together. And now to do it with a pandemic where the University of Texas, I'm not sure they're going to let us use our space. The space that we've utilized for all this time on the UT campus may not be available to us in the spring. So David and his staff are working feverishly to find places to host one-act play, cross-ex debate, our journalism contest, all of our contests has to have a plan A, B, and C. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. You understand this as a committee of the council. And I just want you to know how much I admire them for their work and their attitude. We don't get to come together. We're still not in our building. The university doesn't allow us to come back. We're considered non-essential. Now, we don't believe we're non-essential, but we don't have anything to do with the students on the University of Texas campus. So what we're doing is working feverishly behind the scenes, and particularly this group of people that I just talked to you about. They're talking numerous times by Zoom to develop plans, not knowing if the plans that they develop will even be able to go forward. I know that they were prepared in the spring to move those dates and times. And can you imagine the hundreds of judges that they've had to contact and the changes in their travel and all the things that go with a contest? I just want you to understand that, because you probably know it better than I do. These folks work really, really hard. And academics is the grassroots of UIL, starting again really before 1910, but that's when it was formally recognized as UIL. And it began as a declamation league, and then track and field was added later, and then they added journalism, and they did journalism specifically because they wanted to teach the evils of plagiarism. And I think that they did a really good job of that. Jeannie does a really good job with our journalism activities, and it really helps us develop what I call the true journalistic approach to writing. And I'm proud of that. I don't see evidence, a lot of that in our national media, but I know that the kids who've come through our program really know how to write a story and to seek out the truth before they write their own opinion. It's one thing when you're doing an op-ed piece. It's another thing when you're covering the news to be able to cover it correctly. And I know she teaches that. And all of our activities, I mean, we have some new ones under David's directions with robotics, David Trussell. Those are new and fresh, and everyone's excited about that. But all the other things that go on behind the scenes, I'm just so proud of them. Jana, you know, back in the old days, y'all don't know this. Mr. Bedicek, who was, I consider the godfather of the UIL, he served longer than any other director, and he really formed the league as it is. He did not like academic competition. He loved the academic piece, but he didn't think there should be a competition, because in the early days, when they had state meets, there were people in this, there were fans there, and they were jeering and booing and saying things to get the kids off beat. So Mr. Bedicek had to put some rules in, and we fixed it up now, and I'm really pleased with where we are with our academic competition. It again is the most wholesome thing that we do, and I'm proud of our staff for putting the effort that it takes to make it a professional event and one that we can really hang our hat on. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for chairing this committee and working with our great staff. I'm so proud of Dr. Stevens and his staff. They're going to continue to do the work for you. I promise you that. And we look forward to a great set of events in 2021. So I'll stop then and turn it back to you.
Well, Dr. Braddup, thank you for your words. And this entire committee agrees with your assessment of the staff. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Stevens momentarily. But I do want to say to each of the staff how thankful we are for you going through what Dr. Braddup discussed. You know, we all dealt with it in our own communities at a different level, but there was a lot of multiple option planning that you guys went through. I'm fully aware of, and I thank you for all your work on that. And I know it's frustrating being remote. You know, I'm kind of surprised, David, that we don't have a proposal for to add Zoom to the academic the academic competitions, because many of the adults are sick of it as well. But on behalf of all the superintendents on this call, on this Zoom meeting, thank you so much for what you've done. So Dr. Stevens, our Director of Academics, will now introduce our UIL staff members.
Thank you, Chair Bryant, for your kind words, and also to Dr. Braddup for his exceptional leadership through all of this. Each call, as you all know, is a different story, so it's always exciting. But on our call today, we have Elizabeth Sykes, our Academic Administrative Associate, who has prepared the documents for today's meeting, and also Arlo Flores, who's helping facilitate this virtual meeting for us, and all 5 assistant academic directors leading their various areas. Jeannie Acton in journalism, Lisa Parker for our A+ academics and the essay competitions, Jana Riggins, speech, debate, and Congress, and Paula Rodriguez over theater, and last but not least, David Trussell over our STEM activities.
Welcome, everybody. Again, thank you all for what you do. And Before proceeding, I want to give you instructions on voting, members. If you're connected on your computer, please remember to, at the bottom, click participants. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, a list of all participants will appear, and then beside your name, you can click yes or no when a vote is called for. I don't think we have anyone calling in, so we'll skip those instructions. Going forward, please leave your vote up until UIL staff has recorded and cleared the responses, and I think Elizabeth's going to help us with that. Council members, do you have any questions concerning how to vote? Okay. Unless there's no objection from the committee members, we'll move on to adoption of the meeting rules. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the 2020-2021 Constitution and Contest rules. Hearing no objections, it is so ordered. Adoption of the agenda. Unless there's objection from the committee members, the agenda for the business meeting shall be as set out in your electronic agenda unless otherwise announced by the chair. Hearing no objection, the agenda is officially adopted. Move on to approval of the minutes of the June 16, 2020 meeting. Members of the committee, you've received an electronic copy of the minutes of the meeting of June 16, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve these minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Thomas makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
I think that was Ryder maybe with a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Or actually, all in favor, go ahead and vote by your name.
All unanimous?
Okay. Motion carries unanimously. So executive session, there's no need to call an executive session at this time. So the executive session is waived and we will continue to move on with the meeting. Statement of committee purpose. The purpose of today's committee meeting is to consider proposals for changes in the UIL Constitution and contest rules that have academic related aspects. We will report recommendations of this committee to the Legislative Council tomorrow on Monday, October 19th. Committee members, you have a list of the motions that are usually appropriate included in the packet information that you were emailed. This committee may take any action permitted by the UIL rules, including any of those you see listed or any other motion a member wishes to make. This meeting is a business meeting of the committee and not a public hearing. Presentations may not be made by outside groups or individuals. The UIL director or a designated member of the UIL staff and council members not assigned to this committee shall be recognized to speak on any issue. Okay, moving on to old business and new business. Pursuant to our agenda, the chair recognizes Dr. David Stevens, Director of Academics, for presentation of the old and new business. Dr. Stevens.
Thank you, Chair Bryant. We have 3 previously considered proposals to review under old business. F1A and B, we've combined these proposals for computer applications, which you'll see there on your screen. We were asked to continue to study these 2 proposals from our June meeting. I present this report to you with needing a great deal of direction from this committee as to what we do with these proposals. The first proposal was a concern of moving to a newer version of Microsoft Office, which is a required software to be purchased for the computer applications contest. Some schools are not upgrading this software since districts are now using Google Suite, Chromebooks, and not needing the Microsoft Office program. The second proposal we received was in regards to awarding team points for computer applications without advancing teams to grow interest in the contest and to mirror team points in journalism and speech. I'll remind you of the evolution of computer applications, which we discussed in June, which computer applications evolved from our keyboarding contest, which evolved from our typing contest, which typing and sort of evolved from shorthand. We had a few years of typing and shorthand were running concurrently, and then shorthand was later dropped as interest in that contest and schools quit covering that coursework throughout their evolution of what they offered. So computer applications enrollment at the district level has declined steadily in the participation for the last 10 years. Basically, ever since the basic computer applications course, BCIS, I believe is what it was called, which the contest was built around, is no longer a required course for graduation. An analysis of 2019 participation revealed that computer applications contest had 38% of the possible slots filled at the district meet. So we took every school that was participated in a district meet in 2019, gave them 3 slots in computer applications, and only 38% of those slots were filled. So Ready Writing, which mirrors computer applications with the same number of entries, the point structure, which they get no team component and no team points. Ready Writing had a 71% participation in 2019. Ready Writing's remained steady throughout the last 10 years, and we haven't seen the decline in that event or any of our other events that we're seeing in computer applications. Other academic team events range between 70 and 85% of all of their available participation slots filled at the district meet, at least in 2019, and we see a fairly steady amount of that throughout the 10 years we have data. Reasons we receive from ISDs that see barriers to entering this contest. Lack of student interest is one of those. Microsoft Office programs not being accessible. The contest being too time consuming and difficult to grade. It is our only contest where we require the coaches to grade the contest or the student will be disqualified. And most of the responses I received was difficulty in finding teachers willing to coach the events, and since it isn't directly related to a course being taught on their campus. So conversations this summer revealed additional reasons for low participation numbers, such as industry standards that are moving away from the elements of the contest, like Microsoft Access, which is one of the programs that's covered in the contest, not affording the needed equipment, and business competition opportunities with other organizations like BPA and Skills USA. A large think tank was conducted with coaches in the summer of 2019 who are currently involved, and they see a great value in this competition. There's a desire to award team points from that group and advance a wild card qualifier. However, our discussions with schools not involved say these are not incentive enough to increase their participation. Additionally, team points in journalism and speech are awarded based on a culmination of 6 events respectively in each of those areas. And we do not have like contests in the computer application area to combine for a fair comparison to award those team points. So we bring this report to the committee to basically ask you what you want us to do. We want you to lead out on this, hear what you feel. Do we eliminate this contest? Do we focus on another business area that you know is important in your current curriculum? Want us to ramp up our recruitment efforts? So I leave this report for the committee for further direction to where we go next.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. So committee members, we need to have a discussion in regard to your thoughts on this, on the future of computer applications. So Dr. Stevens, how long has it been since the UIL has dropped an academic contest? Do you know that?
We think shorthand may be the last one. No one currently on the academic staff has ever been in the working well when we had to drop a contest.
So there's nobody with institutional knowledge of what the threshold was, if it was less than 25% or anything like that when it was dropped?
Correct. And I don't think, not until we started doing electronic registration in 2004 were we able to know, have we kept records of what those district enrollments were. So that's how we were able to follow up with the last 10 years of enrollment.
Okay. Committee members, your thoughts on this information that's been presented. Let's have a discussion.
Mr. Bryan, I'll go ahead and speak up, I guess, better because one of those recommendations come from my house. So I better do some defense training here right quick. I don't know about dropping an event. I think that, would be catastrophic to some kids who look forward to an event, and, we're in it for the kids, not really for us. I do agree with Dr. Stevens in regards to one of the major issues being our staff having to grade this competition. I know that when we go to district competition or regional competition, that it seems like it's always the last competition of the day. You have to hold back another bus or a Suburban or something. Those kids are always later than everybody else. So it does create some problems. I think in asking for points to give to kids is a minor thing here, that we want to reward more kids, hopefully to build the deal. So I would stick with the rule change and promote to award the points. But I do understand that the competition is not related to curriculum, and I would not be against either reviewing this further or 86 in it either way. But I do want to throw out there that I don't think we're hurting anything. We're not hurting the competition level, but we're probably not aiding the competition level in garnering more points for kids as well. But with that, I don't have a motion at this time, or, I think we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place here a little bit.
Dr. Stevens, I've got a quick question. Would this committee actually do away with the competition, or would there be some type of polling of all of the schools to determine whether or not they would be interested in eliminating the competition?
We could do any direction this committee wishes us to go. We could poll. We could if we do eliminate it, it does have to come from this committee to full council, since it is a event we offer in the Constitution and contest rules. So whatever this committee wishes us to do, we're willing to try it.
Well, and I'm the one that mentioned elimination a while ago, and I don't want anybody to think that that's the direction I'm leaning or whatever. I think one thing we should consider before we go to that point of at any point in time on this committee of eliminating an event, we should have a lot of data in front of us and a lot of study. And I know that's what we instructed them to do. We instructed the UIL staff to study it and bring back a report, and they've done that. But I know it was in the midst of a COVID year as well. And I know that could affect things. I also wonder if size of school affects the participation in this, because I know, sometimes if you've done a competition in a school for a long time and you have good staff doing it, then you keep, at least in our district, we keep doing it. We keep pushing it. And then if you don't have staff members who are really interested in the competition, that contest may fall by the wayside. I just don't know if a year of study during COVID is going to give us enough information before we would decide to do away with an academic contest. Other thoughts?
Keith, what are you defining study as? Because one of the things that I appreciate most about the UIL is always those surveys they send on whatever the topic may be. I do think going out for that, I mean, I don't see us asking the staff to do any work behind the scenes. I think they've done an incredible job, but maybe giving a poll to the superintendents and their staff would bring us back some data that we could use.
Good point, Ryder.
And Keith, I agree with that. I think it's important to hear, from all the different schools and see what their feelings are, because, if we have kids that want to participate, I think that's what it's all about. And so I think that would be just kind of icing on the cake. So yeah, let's ask the schools.
Other comments from other committee members in regard to thoughts?
I would agree with that, Keith. I think it's one of those deals that get the information from the superintendents and let them look at it to bring us back more information. Just so I hate to cut anything for when kids are involved in it. And if it brings back that that's what we need to do, then that's what we have to do. But I really think if we poll maybe the superintendents, I think that's a good idea.
So Jim, back to your point, if we're going to continue, and when I say study, I just mean gather more information. And if it's certainly through a survey, I'm not advocating referendum, but just a survey, would we continue to, would you be okay with not doing anything on that proposal for points? Because if we're going to end up doing something else with the contest, by the time it got through full council, we might be pulling it back the next council meeting. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfectly good sense. You bet. I'm not opposed to waiting it. You know, when you haven't had it, you don't expect it. And so I think that I agree that, you know, the superintendents could reach out to their sponsors and get some better ideas. And, you know, because we're fighting a lot of these issues. I'm sure all of you are with, you know, things like BPA pulling our kids away from UIL some too. So, yeah, I'm not opposed to that. And if nothing else, maybe it'll get us going and get some ideas on a direction and what we could do to make it better.
Dr. Stevens, if we, just a little guidance here, if we had a motion, basically motion 7, instructing the UIL staff to study the proposal with a survey, would that be the correct motion if we want the superintendents in the state surveyed regarding these proposals?
Yes, sir. I think that would be where we would want to go in that direction.
Okay. Certainly we don't have to stop discussion. We can discuss this as long as you want, but if everybody feels like we need to go that direction, then a member of the committee may want to look at motion 7 for guidance.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Standing Committee on Academics instruct the UIL staff to study this proposal with a survey.
Okay, motion made by Eric. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Wayne Henderson. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, click your participant button and vote yes or no.
All unanimous, approve.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, next proposal, Dr. Stevens.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all of you for your insight and direction there. So I think we're headed in the right direction. So F1C was approved in concept in October, and you instructed staff to draft appropriate language. This proposal came to us from the public a year ago. This amendment to section 1466 Science 1 and 2 would change the event structure of the A+ Science contest from the current Science 1 and Science 2 contest for grades 7 and 8 to a combined A+ Science contest that would be open to students in grades 6 through 8. Currently, students in grade 7 take the Science 1 test and grade 8 the Science 2 test. Moving to one A+ Science event would align the structure with the A+ Calculator Applications contest and the A+ Mathematics contest. It would correlate the test more closely to the high school science contest, and it would remove barriers to participation that exists with the current Science 1 and 2 format.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Stevens. Are there questions or comments from any members of the committee? Okay, do I hear a motion regarding this proposal to pass to the full council? Would that be, David, number 3, basically?
Yes.
Okay, so motion's number 3, if you have that in front of you, members.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that the Standing Committee on Academics refer this proposal to the entire council with no committee recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Jim, second by Kevin. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please indicate by voting.
Motion passes unanimously.
So motion carries. F1D.
This was approved in concept in October as well, and you instructed the staff to draft appropriate language. This proposal came to us from the State Congress Advisory Committee and coaches at the State Congress contest. This amendment to Section 902 would award academic sweepstakes points at the state meet to the school of the individual in each conference that finishes as the outstanding presiding officer. Currently, no points are awarded for the outstanding presiding officer awards that are presented. This change would align Congress with other academic contests that recognize a top performer or top scorer as an individual award.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens, for that explanation. Members, any questions on this proposal? If not, again, members, this will be a similar motion to the previous one. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we refer this proposal to the entire committee.
Okay, thanks,
I'll
Dr.
second.
Second by Eric Wright. Any further discussion? All in favor, please vote accordingly.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Motion passes. Moving on to item G1A.
Thanks, sir. We will move from old business to the 4 written proposals we have from the public. G1A is a proposal to create a new division of speech and debate called negotiation. So this proposal is from a former competitor in speech and debate. The details he provided us on Friday asks that the proposal be organized into 4 separate competitions. There's some great and practical ideas about teaching negotiation skills in a buyer-seller situation, dealing with third parties, situations in the workplace, things such as job interviews. However, since all of our events are directly linked to state-adopted essential knowledge and skills to complement the curriculum, I'm not sure exactly where this idea might fit. We currently offer 7 different speech and debate events. This is the first and only recommendation that we have for such a contest. So we look to the committee's guidance as what you'd like for us to do.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. So a couple of points of clarification. So this individual probably is not a superintendent because we deal with hostile negotiation at all times in our job. In all seriousness, so we have, you said 7 different events.
That's correct. Speech and debate events that we currently host.
So any thoughts on this, members of the committee?
Dr. Stevens, what do you guys think about this?
As far as the academic staff looks, we feel like, I think it's a good idea. I just don't think we have a place to fit it in what we currently do at our current time. So we would recommend to take no action on this proposal or reject it, whatever the committee feels, or go whichever direction you want us to go.
Is there an opportunity, because it's a recommendation for something that's completely new to us, and it is kind of scary to see the word hostile in any kind of competition, I guess, but that we could, before making a decision, the committee could be presented to a brief scenario of how it works, or, I can read that there and know how it works, but I don't know.
Yeah, what you have here in your packet, we didn't get to you because we didn't get it until Friday afternoon, but we can certainly get it to you to review if you want us to monitor this or study it. We certainly can do either one of those as well.
I think in concept it's really good, but I think, like you said, to where it fits in, I don't know. So to me, that would need to have a bit more study for us to figure out where we could even place it. but I think it's got some good points to it, but I don't know where it exactly fits. So to me, right now, it would be more so, there would need to be more studies done to determine where we're going to put that or how it would fall.
And it could be that thank you, Wayne, for that. It could be that we just ask staff to monitor it and let us have a chance to read over the information that was sent after the packet was sent out. And then at any future committee meeting in the future, we could bring it back up and ask for a more formal study or thing of that nature. I think the thing I want to be careful of is to protect our current speech and debate events, and not while it's maybe a good idea, it may be more difficult. You know, we had an earlier discussion about another contest that interest is waning on, and I don't know how you prevent that from occurring on the current ones if we put too many contests in a certain area.
Yeah, and with that, Mr. Brown, I would make the proposal that we instruct the UIL staff to continue to monitor.
Okay, motion by Jim to monitor the proposal. Second,
I'll second that.
Eric seconds it. Any further discussion? Okay, members, please vote. If you want them to monitor, it'd be a yes vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Thank you, members. Dr. Stevens?
G1B is a proposal for academic events with a team component to enter a total of up to 6 contestants at the district level and advance the top 4 scorers as the team. So I have talked to Mr. Newman, who wrote this proposal, and others on various occasions at our conferences that we host about how can we increase our participation in academic events, particularly with large schools who are limited to 4 contestants in these contests with teams. If an idea like this is workable, it would mirror the team events that we do in high school science. I think it's a most viable option that we've discussed so far in the 3 or 4 years that we've really been kind of hashing this out about how do we let students, schools enter more students in the competition. Perhaps it deserves further study so we can see how this would create into something that would allow flexibility to the local level, so that each DEC could determine if they want to allow, limit it to the 4 that we currently have or open it up to the 6, and assess how it would impact our other events in the spring meet that we have. Because I know there may be some smaller schools that they're going to love this, and then they're doing all they can to fill what slots they currently have. So wherever you want us to go on this, but it's certainly an interesting idea that we're very interested in pursuing if possible.
I think it's a great idea to look at and have you guys study. I think it would be it'd be interesting to see how a big school and a small school would handle it and how that would affect everything. Members of the committee, any thoughts in that regard?
I would like to see them study it. I think it's obviously would include more kids.
Kevin?
So, Mr. Chairman, would that be number 7?
Yes, yes, it would. And without a survey, just a study.
Then I would move that we instruct the UIL staff to study this proposal.
Motion by Thomas. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Kevin seconds it. Any further discussion? Members, please indicate your vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Dr. Stevens, G1C.
So this proposal on your agenda was emailed into us by a film sponsor, I believe. He's asking us to expand the number of divisions from 2 to 3 in the film contest. So we almost brought this idea forward in June because our numbers have been increasing in both film and theatrical design as well as in robotics. But we hesitated, not knowing how the current pandemic was going to affect our enrollment. Looking at interest and just general chatter from all of our participants, it looks like these contests that can be electronically entered are going to be much more popular maybe than some of these that we need to come face to face with. But currently, film and theatrical design and robotics are on a 2-conference system, or what we call divisions, where 1A through 4A is Division 1, and 5A and 6A schools are in Division 2. So our numbers have steadily increased in all of 3 of these events since they were created, and we feel it is time for us to expand. Hopefully, we would like to do maybe all 6 conferences, but we also maybe need to look at all of our entry numbers to know, should we kind of group maybe 1 and 2A together as a conference, and sort of similar to what they do in wrestling and tennis and team tennis, some of our other athletic events, how everyone participates up to a lower conference. So we would like the chance to see the enrollment numbers for this year and further delineate what may equalize the competition in these events. So we would like to study this if that's the committee's will.
So you've heard David's recommendation. David, just a quick question. Has it been are we about 10 years into film?
I think we're in our 8th year, I believe.
And the numbers have continued to rise every year. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes. And of course, this is from a small school, and he's just saying, it's hard for them to compete with the 4A guys. And we do see some success from the smaller schools, but we, much like we've done in marching band, we would really like if we can open that up, maybe those, and I think we've seen it in 1A, Conference 1A, 1A play, that when they feel like there's a more even playing field, they get more involved and will participate further.
So members, you've heard the staff's recommendation to study the proposal. Any further questions regarding this one?
David, do you think a survey is appropriate, or would you rather have the staff do it yourselves?
Oh, we can do either way. I think if we need to do a survey, we certainly can. And it's not going to necessarily impact a lot of when we have to survey athletic activities, because 1A through 6A can already participate. So it's not going to be a financial impact or anything necessarily. But if you want us to do a survey, we certainly can.
Keith, well, I'll make a motion that we instruct the UIL staff to study this proposal without the survey if Dr. Stevens is good with that.
Okay, motion made by Dr. Warren to have this staff study without a survey. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, second was Wayne Henderson. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, please vote appropriately.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, members. And then Dr. Stevens, I believe we have one more proposal.
We do. This is the proposal you heard from the presenter this morning, and it's the proposal to add space teams as a new STEM activity. So the presenter this morning talked about, we have reviewed a lot of what he sent. There was a lengthy PowerPoint, I think, that we included with your packet for you to review. What I can determine, and talking with David Trussell about this as well, this feels like an esports version of robotics in a way. As you heard from the speaker's presentation this morning, this is a space mission simulator where students virtually build a spaceship and all sorts of different opportunities that would happen in this event. I looked at the website and video and that was referred to in the meeting. It is an interesting concept, and it's a very targeted audience of students. It sounds focused on the camp style setting, or at least what would be a club activity in our schools. It's very pinpointed into one chapter in a lesson or one activity in maybe the science course that's being taken, from what I can tell. Haven't heard anything from our current member schools that are planning to participate, and it is unclear as to how this competition would look like or how it would actually fit in as a UIL activity. So we're at this committee's will on adding events, and so we look to you for direction.
So David, I'll begin the discussion. So if we were to ask you to monitor it, basically you'd just kind of watch and see how it goes and see if there's interest expressed, see what happens with esports, and see how all that may combine. Is that true?
Yes, sir. That'd be perfect.
Okay. So members, questions or thoughts about this competition? I know you just, we got to hear from Dr. Shamatoff a little bit earlier during full council. Questions or comments on this proposal? So David, if we ask you to monitor it at any point in time, that could come back up next session in our next meeting, we could come back up and take more action at that time or do a study or whatever, correct? Monitoring just kind of leaves it on the table.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to instruct the UIL staff just to continue to monitor this area.
Okay, motion by Kevin. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Wayne Henderson. Any further discussion? Okay, members, please vote accordingly.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. I believe that is all of the old business and new business.
Correct.
Get back to my place here, everyone. Hold on just a second. Okay. I don't think we have any staff proposals, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So announcements. We'll move to announcements. I think Dr. Stevens is going to discuss spring competitions.
Thank you very much. Yes, I want to tell you a little bit of plans of what we've accomplished since March and how we're preparing for our competitions in the future. So when the school was canceled and we ended UL activities, the academic staff created the at-home experience, where we provided the 2019 district meet materials in an electronic format for coaches to utilize those materials with their students in any manner that could be helpful. They could report their scores to us, so we posted those by conference so students could compare their scores with maybe their rivalry in the district or across the state. We had over 1,200 coaches take advantage of this opportunity, and we were really happy that we hopefully helped keep these students engaged. We hosted the Summer Capital Conference virtually, offering 71 sessions through Zoom throughout the months of June and July. We had 900 individuals with 5,500 logins through the 2 months. So we were very excited and thrilled with that response. I think it was a huge success for what it could have been when we just immediately moved that to a virtual format. Currently, we're hosting student activities conferences with YouTube videos. We're releasing those at 3 times throughout. We just did our second release on Thursday. We'll have another release in 2 weeks. And we're also conducting live question and answer sessions with our test riders, our consultants, championship coaches, and those will continue on through November. So we're lucky that teachers are still interested in tuning in, and we're doing our best to provide all of this content to them so that they can share it with their students in whatever manner is the best and most efficient and works for them. So at this time, to move forward with it is our plan to move forward with in-person events as they have been done in the past. We're also researching options should schools determine that meeting in person is not possible. I'd like to offer the specifics in each of our competition areas to this committee, and then I'll summarize these for tomorrow's full council meeting. But for our options for the A+ academic events this fall for grades 2 through 8, have been really well received. Schools can conduct these events with their respective school under staff supervision and in a virtual format for speaking events if they're not choosing to gather in one location. Then the district director compiles these results to complete their meet. Students who are receiving instruction at home and aren't at school also have been given opportunities to participate with our invitational meet materials, because we don't want to be sending out our actual district materials across the state, since we do use these for several months. But at least those students who are not at school can participate in some manner and be recognized however the school wishes to do WNAC Plays explored options for our middle school contest this fall, allowing sites to edit the schedule for schools to rehearse and perform in one visit. They can conduct virtual award ceremonies, things such as allowing critiques on site immediately following the performance, or even virtually following the event, or even the next day. And any other possibility that would allow the event to be held. We're trying to work with those A+, those middle school meets, so we can kind of figure that out. We look forward to following these contests this fall, and hopefully that will determine what might be best for our high school contests in the spring. Congress regions were offered the opportunity to have a virtual or in-person event. 7 of the 20 regions are being held virtually, all those being in the metro or urban areas of the state. We continue to plan for the state Congress event to be held in person in January, but we have the less desirable options ready should they be necessary. We are awarding fall and spring championships in robotics. The fall best championship will be conducted remotely. The spring first events are planned to move forward in person, but can switch to a remote format if those are needed. Our state film festival and the state theatrical design event will both be held virtually this year. Both of these are entered online and judged virtually until the state final exhibition. And we feel we can still offer these events in a virtual format without changing the intent and the purpose of the event. So the essay competition state awards could also be held virtually if needed. We did all 3 of these things virtually last year after we had ended our season, and it was with great response from those schools and those students to be able to finish that competition who they had already entered and was in the middle of. So we were lucky to be able to do that. CX debate begins in January. The DECs may determine if they want to hold their meet in person or virtually, but we are at this time planning for a state meet to be in person in March. We're closely watching to see how the speech tournaments being held virtually this fall are handled. So we will be ready should that format be necessary when we get into that contest. We're asking districts to plan for in-person spring academic and speech meets. March and April and May are a long way away from now. We hope things can change, but we're also working for other options for contests should that be necessary, including digitizing tests, virtual options for speaking events. We're closely monitoring and evaluating our A+ fall meets to help inform our plans for the spring. But it is our goal and intention and desire to have these events in person if any way possible. Basically, just to summarize, we are keeping every option on the table so we can keep students engaged with academic competition this school year to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens, and Jeannie and Jana and Paula and David Trussell and Lisa. Thank you so much for the work you're doing. Again, as was mentioned, to try to make these things happen in person in the spring, and if not, the virtual aspect of it. We really, really appreciate the work that's gone into it. Are there any other announcements prior to the conclusion of this meeting? Hearing none, unless there's an objection, the regular October meeting of the Standing Academic Committee of the University Interscholastic League is now adjourned. We will see everybody tomorrow back at full council. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your efforts, and hope you have a great Sunday, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a good day.